Morning, everybody. This is Brock Knight coming to you from good old Tennessee up in the mountains. Looky here. Y'all tell me if y'all can hear what this is. Walking in the woods, me and my man Frank. We're just walking, looking around the mountain. And sure enough, we hear the telltale sign. We hear the noise. We hear the alarm and the warning sound of a big, huge rattlesnake. Oh, yeah. So we're walking on the trail. Rocky's going before, sniffing everything, checking everything out. And all of a sudden, he comes running through these bushes. And I hear a ch-ch-ch-ch-ch-ch. And I was like, hey, you hear that? He's like, no. And I listened. I was like, man, that's a rattlesnake. And I was like, Rocky, get over here now. Rocky came over here. Sure enough, this baby, big old thing. Look at this fella. So I'm walking over here, I'm looking. I'm like, where is that thing at? And then I get right here and I start to see where the sound, I'm about 15, 20 feet away. And there, boom, there he is. Huge. Thing as big as my legs, my calves. I mean, it is huge. It's a big old thing. Probably about 5 feet long. Now, if you don't know anything about rattlesnakes obviously are poisonous. They are dangerous. You can die, but it's rare. Okay, it's only been like 6 deaths in a year. But they take their tail and they shake it, and it's really loud. It's impressively loud. So they shake that tail and they let you know, hey, I am right here and I'm warning you, if you come close to me, I will bite. And too often we have Christians that hear the warning signs of that great serpent Satan. They hear all these warning signs and they just walk right up to the snake. And they get bit. Shock, shock, right? Now, the same way with this snake here, it was not going to bite us. It's not going to charge after us. It's just going to make a lot of noise. The Bible says that Satan is a roaring lion. Okay? He makes a lot of noise. I mean, he does. He makes all kinds of noise. He's trying to tempt you. He's trying to do everything he can. Matter of fact, he is convincing you that you don't have what you need, that you're not good enough. He does everything he can to twist what God has said in order for you to end up believing a slight, subtle lie. Now, I want to talk to you today about discretion. Wisdom, discretion, and prudence, what the book of Proverbs talks about. In terms of making good decisions, but also knowing what to say, what not to say, or when to be quiet, right? Knowing how to handle situations. Let's talk about that. Now, I look at this rattlesnake. I had to make some decisions there. I had to think in terms of wisdom. I had to decide, do I go over there, take a stick, press down on his head, catch the snake, pick it up, have that big old heavy rattlesnake, and take pictures with it, and show my son and show off. Like, look, I caught a big rattlesnake. Now, did I take my Glock out and shoot it in the head, take it home and eat it? Because that's definitely an option. Rattlesnake is actually a delicacy. It tastes really good. There's a lot of meat on that thing. That's the biggest poisonous snake that you can get out there, and it is very fat. It's the fattest snake that we have in Tennessee. So, if you want meat, that would have been meat. Now, I wouldn't have done that, obviously, unless I was survival. If I was trying to survive, I'd probably eat the fella, but I had another option, just shoot it and kill it because it's poisonous, because, it could possibly hurt somebody. Or I could just leave it alone and let it be. Now, I had to make a decision. I had to handle this situation, me and my fella that was with me. We thought about it. We're like, we don't want our kids walking up here and, getting bit by this big old snake, or we don't want this snake to have kids. Do we let it have kids? Do we, poisonous snakes are typically, a danger for people would think for kids, right? But I've also heard stories of snakes, actually rattlesnakes in particular, helping farmers because gophers, they get out there and eat all your food, but the natural predator for the gopher is the big rattlesnake. The rabbit's the rattlesnake. So it eats rodents. If I kill all of the rattlesnakes, I'll have an excess amount of rodents. So at what point do you decide to mess with nature? Now, we left it alone. We took some pictures and some video and things like that, and, we left it alone, right? Gave it a wide berth. Now, it took discretion. Now, I didn't walk up to it. I didn't go up and, try to get a close-up picture and get all in and get bit, obviously. When I saw this snake up close, I told Frank, I said, listen, man, if somehow that thing gets over here and bites us, don't worry. I'll believe God. You'll be healed, and just like Paul, we'll shake it off. And he laughed, and he's like, yeah, I believe you, but let's not tempt the Lord. Let's don't put the Lord to test and go over there and get bit. And we joked, we're not one of those that handle snakes and prove that we have faith in God. You know what I mean? We're not going to go dancing around with snakes. So we decided, obviously, to leave it alone. Now, I want to bring this up to you because today we're talking about discretion. Let me talk to you about what the Bible calls discretion. In Proverbs, it says discretion will watch over you. Just like teaching my kids how to walk through the woods, looking at the ground, and checking to see if there's a snake in the path. Now, if there's danger in the path, you make a different decision, walk around, scare it off, or whatever, right? You keep your eyes, and you got to teach your kids, you got to teach people how to walk in the woods and be safe, right? Now, that's called discretion. You need to learn discretion. So there's a few things we'll talk about. Let's get into this. So Proverbs 25:11 says, a word fitly spoken is like apples of gold and pictures of silver. Sounds pretty, huh? But fitly spoken. Discretion, as we go through this, you'll see, is knowing what to say and how to say it. Choosing the posture, the strategy, the approach. How you're going to say something to somebody, A situation comes up, could be very unpleasant, but you could say it in a way that makes it pleasant, you see? So how do you fitly speak, right, in a situation? How about this? The mouth of a righteous man is a well of life. The lips of the righteous know what is acceptable. That's Proverbs 10:11, 30 and 32. Here we go, Proverbs 13:3. He that keepeth his mouth keepeth his life. That's a good one. But he that openeth wide his lips shall have destruction. Now, we all know people, someone will say, you talk way too much, right? Talking too much shows foolishness, right? But he that guards his mouth, keeps his mouth, controls his mouth, knows when to fitly speak something in the right timing, with the right tone, and with the right body language. That's called discretion. Choosing how to handle a situation with the words or with your actions. Let's go back into Proverbs. So Proverbs 1, you start Proverbs 1 off here, and it says, Proverbs of Solomon, the son of David, king of Israel, to know wisdom and instruction, to perceive the words of understanding, to receive the instruction of wisdom, justice, and judgment, and equity. Here you go. To give subtlety. Subtlety is like the snake. The serpent was the most subtle in the field. Subtle, being wise as a serpent, harmless as a dove. To give subtlety to the simple. So it's cunning, witty thinking. Cunning, subtle decision-making skills to the simple-minded. To the young man, knowledge and discretion. So knowledge and discretion. Discretion is kind of likened unto subtlety. It says a wise man will hear and will increase learning, and a man of understanding shall attain unto wise counsels. So increasing learning, attaining unto wise counsels. Okay? This helps you become more subtle, more cunning, knowing like a snake, how to go around up and down, wise as a serpent. That's how you increase in discretion. Let's go over here. Let's go keep on going. This is Proverbs chapter 2. It says, verse 9, Then shalt thou understand righteousness and judgment and equity, yea, every good path. When wisdom entereth into thine heart, and knowledge is pleasant unto thy soul, discretion shall preserve thee, understanding shall keep thee. Look at that. To deliver thee from the way of the evil man, and on down it says to deliver thee from the foreign woman, the woman who is the strange woman, the woman who is a prostitute or loose, who flirts and batters her eyes. Look, it says at the beginning of this chapter, if you seek it, wisdom, that is, like hidden treasure. If you go after it with all your heart, you'll find it. But then, that's when you go after it, will you understand righteousness, judgment, and equity? Yeah, that's when you'll understand every good path. The path is a sequence of events before you. What you choose to do, how you're going to approach it, what you're going to say, and how you will handle the situation and make quick adjustments and maneuver around certain situations in a way that is peaceful, in a way that gives God glory and is loving and kind and shows the wisdom that comes from above. Okay? So when wisdom entereth into your heart, and knowledge is pleasant to your soul, discretion shall preserve thee. Preserve thee is a promise. Your discretion, knowing how to move around, that's a preservation. Okay, this is what Solomon's saying. This will preserve you and keep you, right? Proverbs chapter 3. Now this is where he gets in, let not mercy and truth forsake you. Bind them about thy neck. In verse 3, write them upon the tablet of your heart. So shalt thou find favor and good understanding in the sight of God and man. In the famous scripture, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not unto your own understanding. He builds it up the whole chapter. And then verse 21, it says, My son, let not them depart from thine eyes. Keep sound wisdom and discretion. So shall they be life unto thy soul and grace to thy neck. Then, when? Well, when you keep sound wisdom and discretion. When you hold on to and guard the use of sound wisdom and discretion in your life, then you walk in your way safely. Your foot shall not stumble. When you lie down, you will not be afraid. Yeah, thou shalt lie down, and thy sleep shall be sweet. That's when you hold on to living in wisdom and discretion. Look at here. Proverbs 4:5. Get wisdom, get understanding, forget her not. Neither decline from the words of my mouth. Forsake her not, and she shall preserve thee. Now talk about wisdom and understanding. Love her, and she shall keep thee. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore get wisdom. And with all thy getting, get understanding. Exalt her, and she shall promote thee. She shall bring thee to honor when thou dost embrace her. Man, I love this because he goes on and he, as he continues teaching all this, he's talking about turning not to the left hand or to the right hand. He talks about keep your heart with all diligence here, right? He goes in and he talks about keeping wisdom. Don't forsake it. Don't let it decline from your mouth, right? Look over here at chapter 5. My son, after all this good instruction about keeping his heart, pondering the path of his feet, right? Turning not to the left and to the right, keeping his eyes focused, right? He talks about keeping your heart with all diligence. I mean, really good stuff here. Then he says, my son, attend to my wisdom. Bow thine ear to my understanding, that thou mayest regard discretion, and that thy lips may keep knowledge. He's saying you've got to understand discretion. Okay? I want you to see this. I, wisdom, dwell with prudence. Prudence is a word that's like discretion. It means like discernment. Okay, it's a little bit different than discretion, but it's more on the discerning side. Like prudent or being prudent or having prudence means to discern a situation, knowing the realities, what is good, what is evil, the motives of people, and things like that. Understanding cause and effect. If I do this, it's like chess. If I do this, this and this and this could be the result. If I make a move here, this and this. It's like the art of war. Understanding your decisions and how your decisions are perceived by the other people involved, or perhaps an enemy, someone who's contending against you for something, competition in your business, whatever. I, wisdom, dwell with prudence, and find out knowledge of witty inventions. Now, witty inventions is actually translated as discretion in different versions. So find out knowledge and discretion. When we look at the Hebrew words, the Hebrew word for discretion, it means witty or evil inventions. Like, in other words, the cunning, wise as a serpent, knowing how to be cunning as a snake, being witty, and what's the word I'm looking for? Witty, cunning, and there's a word that I'm thinking of. Shrewd. That's right. Shrewd. Right? Not exactly being evil, but knowing how to be shrewd and cunning and get things done in a way. And we'll talk about this more. Okay? Let's keep on now. We're going to go over here to, this is now Psalms 112. Look what David says here. He says, praise ye the Lord. Blessed is the man that feareth the Lord, that delighteth greatly in his commandments. His seed shall be mighty upon earth. The generation of the upright shall be blessed. Wealth and riches shall be in his house, and his righteousness endureth forever. Unto the upright there ariseth light in the darkness. He is gracious and full of compassion and righteous. A good man shows favor and lendeth. He will guide his affairs with discretion. Talk about a good man. You and I are to be good men and women. A good man, the righteous man. He talks about, the blessed man, right? Blessed is the man that fears the Lord. So fearing the Lord is to guide all of your affairs, all the areas of your life with discretion. Surely he shall not be moved forever. The righteous shall be in everlasting remembrance. He shall not be afraid of evil tidings. His heart is fixed, trusting in the Lord. His heart is established. He shall not be afraid until he see the desire upon his enemies. Y'all see that? This is amazing, because when you are living truly, when you allow the Spirit of God to direct you into truth, learning how to be wise and use discretion, you're protected. You don't fear the evil, all the stuff happening. Okay, listen to this here. Now we're going to New Testament. Romans 12 is amazing. It talks, there's so many things here. It says, bless them which persecute you. See, that's all. The whole New Testament is giving you wisdom and discretion, knowing how to act in certain situations with such wisdom. Verse 11:33 up here in the top of the screen says, oh, the depth of the riches, both the wisdom and the knowledge of God. How unsearchable are his judgments, and his ways are past finding out. God is amazing, And every time you read this, like, bless them which persecute you. It doesn't make sense to the natural carnal mind to bless those people who are making fun of you and persecuting you, right? You bless them. You don't curse them back. So you don't return what they're doing. You see, there is wisdom in this. A soft answer turns away a harsh, if someone gets angry with you, you can be soft and calm them down. When people are cursing you, you can bless them. You rejoice with them, rejoice with them, that we be of the same mind one to another. Mind not the high things, but condescend to men of low estate. Be not wise in your own conceits. Recompense to no man evil for evil. Provide things honest in the sight of all men. You see, you got to be able to handle situations where the way you do it comes across as honest in their sight. Do you see? There's sayings out there that say perception is reality. Some people say, well, I like these jeans. I just love these jeans, and people look at them and say, hey, your jeans look kind of trashy. Maybe it doesn't look like someone who's godly. Them jeans, you might want to think about wearing some different jeans. People are trying to be nice and share this with them. No, they're so comfortable. I love these jeans. Like, well, those jeans tell a man that you're advertising and that you're open for business, right? And then maybe they'll get it, but you provide things honest in the sight of all men. You could wear something that looks a little more honest living. Now, if it comes to money, right? You want to do things that are honest in the sight of all men, right? When you go and, like Paul was traveling, he was taking the offering from church to church. He was having multiple men with him from different parts of the church, different people, all carrying and giving this offering, taking it on the trip, so it would provide things honest in the sight of all men. They had multitude of counselors, multiple men there, to make sure that it looked honest in the sight of everybody. Now look, perception is reality. For example, sometimes you guys are thinking, right, and you got this thing we call a thinking face. Right? You're really thinking. You're probably thinking of doing something really holy, really nice, something for Jesus, but your thinking face, when someone looks at that thinking face from the outside, their perception is that you're angry. You look ticked off. And someone might want to ask you, you okay? What's wrong? Did I do something? Are you angry with me? Now see, you are thinking, but their perception is you're angry, mad, or just an unhappy person, right? That is huge, right? So, look at verse 18. If it be possible, as much as lieth in you, live peaceably with all men. We can go on and on about that, but everything that we do, we want to do in a way that is peaceable. All right, here we go. So, I'm just going to go to the top here, verse 16. It says, let not then your good be evil spoken of. This is huge, okay? There's a lot of people out there right now that, they're in business, right? And this is huge. There's ethics in business, right? You don't want, for example, I don't like to have a woman in my office without the door wide open, right? And I prefer women not to come into my office when I'm alone. Now, if my mom is in there or my wife is in there, a woman can come in, sit down. We're not going to do a counseling session. We're not going to talk. We're not going to do anything like that someone can walk by and look in there and say, ooh, Brock's in another room with another woman. That's not his wife. Now, someone's like, that's just so fickle. That's silly. You don't have to do that. No, I beg to differ. When you understand wisdom and discretion, you will safeguard yourself. You will put up barriers and buffers, right, to put a large gap between you and possible dangers down your path. There are many men in ministry who have had their whole reputation damaged because someone said, I saw the pastor, I saw him in a room with another woman. They were in there for a while, came out. Both of them came out of the room, and I don't know what happened, but he was definitely in there for a while with another woman that wasn't his wife. God forbid she be pretty or something like that, right? So, what men ought to do is think, and this is women too, don't be in the same room with a different sex if you can't help it, right? Right? Keep the door open or something, and have everybody in the office have guidelines that protect you. For example, we have security cameras in our office. Why? They are security cameras. So I have a plan A. Plan A is nobody comes in here. I protect myself around the opposite sex just for the sake of protecting the gospel, protecting reputation, and protecting what I know the enemy tries to do all the time. They'll say, well, you did this and this and this. You touched my butt or something like that, right? You sexual harassed me. And I'm just like, well, no, I didn't. And they're like, well, yes, you did. All they have to do is say I did it, guys. Get on YouTube and all kinds of stuff and say I did it. Well, in my case, number one, I never have a woman in my office. There's no way I get close to a woman because it's my guidelines. Two, I have cameras. They record the audio and they record the visual. So if anything happens, someone can go in there and I can show you, look, here you go. I did not touch your booty. And then if they try to do it, I will play that video and say, does it look like I touched anyone? You know what I mean? I can protect myself. If they try to take me to court, I've got proof, you see? Now, someone might say that's a lot of extra work. Now, let me tell you something. It's less work to put those systems in place and live in wisdom and discretion than it is to learn the hard way and suffer the pain of your name being ruined, right? And you don't have any way to protect yourself or show proof, okay, guys? So that's just an example of not letting your good be evil spoken of, right? Now, I got another one for you. Like a gold ring in the snout of a beautiful woman without discretion, right? So, like a gold ring in a pig's snout is a beautiful woman without discretion. How many of y'all remember this situation? So this is the South Carolina lady. She gets on here, right? So, like a gold ring in a pig's snout and a beautiful woman without discretion. Y'all might have to go look that up. I know you guys have seen that, right? You get a pretty person that just don't have any brains, right? So the Bible says it's like putting a gold ring on the nose of a pig, right? If a woman doesn't have discretion, this goes for a man too, right? A man can think he's something, but if he doesn't have wisdom and discretion, he's just like a pig that has lipstick on or has jewelry on, right? What does the Bible say about discretion? Now, we can go and we can look at this. There's a few things we want to look. Here's Proverbs 2:11, right? Discretion. If you look up the discretion word, right, it goes in from mezima. Talks about a plan. Look at this. Evil, sometimes good, sagacity, wicked, device, discretion, intent, witty inventions, lewdness, wickedly. Look, let's go over here. Now this is my e-sword. Same thing. It's a plan, usually evil, sometimes good, wicked, device, discretion. So, the Bible's talking about the cunning, shrewdness. Like even having the ability to think like an evil person. Now, let me just tell you about this. If you're going to war, if you're in a situation and you are facing snakes, You're facing the foxes. Those twisting, lying, evil people that will manipulate their way, like a Jezebel or something. They are working their way. It's witchcraft. The witches are moving into your church or around your house, and they are sneaky, conniving, working around your back, stabbing you in the back, right? When you have situations like that, that is when you need discretion. But not only that, you have your wife or your spouse. You got your kids. You need discretion in every situation handling people. Always. Let's look at this. Discreet. So prudence, right, is a synonym with the word discreet. So just as discreet behavior avoids damaging situations, so a prudent person understands the cause and effect sequences, right? And acts accordingly. A prudent man foreseeth evil and hides himself, but the simple pass right on and are punished. Right? Here's prudence, right? Here's a few meanings. There's cunning, shrewd, like we were talking about. Creative skill. So I, wisdom, dwell with prudence and find out knowledge of witty inventions. Good judgment, that's a big one, because a prudent man covereth shame. So you have a shameful event, something happened, right? Shameful, or it's hurtful, or painful, or it's sensitive, right? A prudent man knows how to cover or, handle the situation properly, using good judgment, using discretion with what he shares, right? Someone's like, well, that's lying if you don't share. No, there's a fine line of sharing unnecessary details. It's called casting your pearls before the swine. There are some valuable information that would, if you share, it will cause you unnecessary battles, unnecessary pain, okay? You don't go and share your personal marriage stuff with just anybody. You only share with people who can help you. All right, there's a time and a place for everything. That's why you got to use discretion. So, caution in speaking. Here we go. A prudent man concealeth knowledge. All right, it's not saying he's lying because he's holding back. No, this is concealing something that needs to be concealed. Like for your boss, right? You got a secret recipe to your burger, right? And you know how to conceal and protect, right? Rather than telling everybody what the secret recipe is and lying. So, but the heart of fools proclaims foolishness, right? Here we go. So, initiative and learning, the heart of the prudent getteth knowledge, and the ear of the wise seeketh knowledge, investigates the facts, okay? The simple believe every word, but the prudent man looketh well to his going. Stop right there. So, a prudent person looks really well into what he's about to do, right? But the simple believe every word. So if someone tells you something, hey, this, and this, a simple person believes everything. But listen, a prudent man looks and checks what someone has said. They do their research. They do their due diligence. You take everybody's, you give everybody the benefit of the doubt, right? You believe what they say. At the time, you take what they say, that's good, but then you go back and do your research and verify. Now, that is not being, what's the word I'm looking for, where you're being a little too, I can't think of the word right now. You're being, what is that word? Not anal, but it's, you're being too, not cautious. But anyways, investigate the facts. All right, no matter what, look well into the matter, okay? So open to reproof. He that regardeth reproof is prudent. So if you allow someone to correct you and reprove you, that's prudence. All right, let's look at the dictionary. So here we go. There's my little girl, Catalina. Look at that face. All right. That's the face when I don't use discretion. The quality of behaving, this is the definition here, or speaking in such a way as to avoid causing offense or revealing private information. So, when I say something And Catalina doesn't understand. That's the face I get. She's like, what? All right. So that's called using discretion. And number 2 is the freedom to decide what should be done in a particular situation, right? It is up to local authorities to use their discretion in setting the charges, right? Here's another one. A pass-fail grading system may be used at the discretion of the department. See, the department has the freedom or responsibility to choose how and when and the appropriate path or sequence or route to actually execute whatever this thing is. So, and you have the ability to use your discretion as well. So, here we go. Discretion in the thesaurus. All right, the negotiations have been carried out with the utmost discretion. So, circumspection, care, carefulness, caution, wariness, right? You got guardedness, tact, tactfulness, diplomacy, right? Delicacy, sensitivity, subtlety, consideration. How about prudence, judiciousness, judgment, discrimination, sense, good sense, common sense, kid gloves. Look, but the opposite is indiscretion and rashness. So rash is someone who just goes and thinks and just shoots from the hip and does not think it through or get counsel or do what's necessary in order to be careful, cautious, and guarded and being tactful when they talk. So look at Daniel here. He's holding Catalina. We're at the springs by our house. This is a spring water here that we drink, and Daniel's sitting there and he's holding her. He's being cautious, isn't he? He's being careful. He's got some guardedness. He's using discretion because his dad said, Daniel, hold your sister. Don't let her slip on that algae, right? So he chose to use discretion to hold her, right? Abraham Lincoln said, "'Tis better to be silent and be thought a fool than to speak up and remove all doubt." Proverbs 17:28 says, "Even a fool, when he holdeth his peace, is counted wise, and he that shutteth his lips is esteemed a man of understanding." You see, even guys, a fool can be counted as wise if he just shuts up, right? If you just hold your mouth, hold your peace, people will think you're wise. An indiscreet word or action takes a moment to do, but results in a lifetime of regret. So being indiscreet, not thinking it through, right? Saying something that was just the totally wrong way of saying it, that can be dangerous, guys. A whole lifetime. I mean, you can make one simple decision and people will remember it forever, and it just changes relationships. It can change everything, right? Proverbs 14:12 said, "There is a way that seems right unto a man, but the end thereof is death." It may seem right to you, but that is why you must seek counsel. That's why you must allow God to teach you. You must get in His Word and understand and read books and understand how to have people skills and talk to others. How about discretion here, right? Not letting your good be evil spoken of. That's one way of putting it. Providing things honest in the sight of all men. How about this? Not casting your pearls before swine. Here's a good one. Being quick to think and slow to speak. Think more and then speak when you know how to speak with discretion. Wise as a serpent, but harmless as doves. You definitely want to be doing the right thing and be speaking, in a good way to people, but using that wisdom and discretion to be as wise as a serpent. How about Joseph? Right? Look at this. This is Joseph speaking to Pharaoh. "Now therefore let Pharaoh look out a man discreet and wise, and set him over the land of Egypt." Let Pharaoh do this, and let him appoint officers over the land, and take up the fifth part of the land of Egypt in the 7th plenteous years. And let them gather all the food of those good years that come, and lay up corn under the hand of Pharaoh, and let them keep food in the cities, and that food shall be for store to the land against the 7 years of famine, which shall be in the land of Egypt, that the land perish not from. Now you know Pharaoh made Joseph that guy. So he was discreet and wise, knew how to handle a situation of 7 years of famine coming. How about Daniel? They give him the food, right? They give Daniel the food. He refuses to eat the Babylonian food. He eats the fruit instead. And we also see Daniel with the lion's den. He chose not to, to stop praying to his God. And then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, instead of bowing down to the image of the false god, they stood up instead of bowing. They knew how to handle the situation, and God came through for each of these situations. How about David? Here's an example of someone trying to use discretion but ended up using it in the wrong way. So in the spring of the year, we talk about Bathsheba now, the time when kings go out to battle, David sent Joab and his servants with him and all Israel, and they ravaged the Ammonites and besieged Rabbah, but David remained at Jerusalem. See, he should not have remained. By the way, that was bad wisdom, bad discretion. It happened late one afternoon when David arose from his couch and was walking on the roof of the king's house that he saw from the roof a woman bathing. And the woman was very beautiful, and David sent and inquired about the woman, and one said, Is not this Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam, the wife of Uriah the Hittite? So David sent messengers and took her, and she came to him, and he lay with her. Now, she had been purifying herself from her uncleanness. Then she returned to her house, and the woman conceived, and she sent and told David, I am pregnant. So David sent word to Joab, Send me Uriah the Hittite, and Joab sent Uriah to David. When Uriah came to him, David asked how Joab was doing, and how the people were doing, and how the war was going. Then David said to Uriah, Go down to your house and wash your feet. And Uriah went out of the king's house, and there followed him a present from the king. But Uriah slept at the door of the king's house with all the servants of his lord, and did not go down to his house. When they told David, Uriah did not go down to his house. David said to Uriah, Have you not come from a journey? Why did you not go down to your house? Uriah said to David, The ark and Israel and Judah dwell in booths, and my lord Joab and the servants of my lord are camping in the open field. Shall I go? This is funny. Shall I then go to my house and eat and to drink and to lie with my wife? As you live and as your soul lives, I will not do this thing. Then David said to Uriah, Remain here today also, and tomorrow I will send you back. So Uriah remained in Jerusalem that day and the next. And David invited him, and he ate in his presence and drank, so he made him drunk. And in the evening he went out to lie on his couch in the servants of the Lord, but he did not go down to his house again. So in the morning, David wrote a letter. Look at this. So David's conniving. David's trying to use discretion. He's thinking like a snake here. He's being cunning and shrewd, trying to think of a way to cover up, right? He wrote a letter to Joab and sent it by the hand of Uriah. In the letter he wrote, Set Uriah in the forefront of the hardest fighting, and then draw back from him, that he may be struck down and die. And as Joab was besieging the city, he assigned Uriah to the place where he knew there were valiant men, and the men of the city came out and fought with Joab, and some of the servants of David among the people fell. Uriah the Hittite also died. Then Joab sent and told David all the news about the fighting, and he instructed the messenger. And I'm going to skip all this, but basically told him how to say it and how to be subtle and letting the king know that no one would understand, right? And slip in there, hey, your servant Uriah died also. So the messenger, verse 22, went and came and told David all that Joab had sent him to tell. The messenger said to David, The men gained an advantage, and so on and so forth. And he finished at verse 26. When the wife of Uriah heard that Uriah, her husband, was dead, she lamented over her husband. And when the mourning was over, David sent and brought her to his house, and she became his wife, and bore him a son. Ooh. He was using discretion, but it wasn't wise discretion. You see, he was being subtle and shrewd, but it got him in trouble in the sense he sinned against God and he tried to cover up by doing more evil. So anyways, here we go. Luke 16, this is the parable of the unjust steward. Okay, he also said to the disciples, there was a rich man, this is Luke 16, who had a manager, and charges were brought to him that this man was wasting his possessions. And he called him and said to him, what is that I hear about you? Turn in the account of your management, for you can no longer be manager. And the manager said to himself, what shall I do, since my master has taken the management away from me? I am not strong enough to dig, and I am ashamed to beg. I have decided what to do so that when I am removed from management, and the manager said to himself, what shall I do, since my master is taking the management away from me? I'm not strong enough to dig, and I'm ashamed to beg. I have decided what to do, so that when I am removed from management, people may receive me into their houses. So, summoning his master's debtors one by one, he said to the first, how much money do you owe my master? And he said, 100 measures of oil. And he said to him, take your bill and sit down quickly and write 50. Then he said to another, and how much do you owe? And he said, 100 measures of wheat. And he said to him, take your bill and write 80. And the master, look at this, the master commended the dishonest manager for his shrewdness. For the sons of this world are more shrewd. Look at this. This is Jesus saying that the sons of this world are more shrewd in dealing with their own generation than the sons of light. And I tell you, make friends for yourselves by means of unrighteous wealth, so that when it fails, they may receive you into the eternal dwellings. Jesus shares a parable where the guy was probably being dishonest, right? But his master found out and told him to give an account, show me the books, right? He goes and starts acting shrewd and cunning like a snake and making a deal with all of his master's vendors so that if he got fired, he would have a job with them. But at the same time, he thought it might be a good way to show the new guy the new contracts that are paid, and all these people, he said, hey, how much do you owe? 100. He says, write 50. So he ends up getting these new contracts, and these people, some of them probably paid or whatever, and and the master commended him, right? Now, he probably still fired him for being dishonest, but he had to commend the guy for his shrewdness. Like, wow, that was a very shrewd plan. Wow, that was impressive. I mean, there's times when I was in business and I had a snake working at getting me fired or something like that to take my position, a power pull or something. And I remember thinking, wow, I am impressed. That was so cunning and so snake-like. While he's trying to destroy my career, I'm actually impressed watching him in his snake workings. I used to be kind of impressed. I was like, man, I can't believe he did that. That was actually pretty smooth. It was so wrong, so evil, but wow, smooth. And people bought it, and that was what got me, But anyways, but look what he says here. The people or the sons of this world are more shrewd in dealing with their own generation than the sons of light. Jesus taught that the people in the world were more shrewd than the people in Christ, in Christendom. We need to learn how to be as wise as a serpent. We don't be as evil as a serpent. We need to know what the serpent's games are. It's important for us to be shrewd or to understand the shrewdness so we can work around it, okay? Now, look what Jesus continues to say here. One who is faithful in a very little is also faithful in much. The one who is dishonest in a very little is also dishonest in much. If then you have not been faithful in the unrighteous wealth, who will entrust to you the true riches? And if you've not been faithful in that which is another's, who will give you that which is your own? No servant can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and money. Boom. Then the Pharisees, who were lovers of money and covetous, heard all these things, and they ridiculed Jesus. And he said to them, You, Pharisees, are those who justify yourselves before men, but God knows your hearts. For what is exalted among men is an abomination in the sight of God. Look at there. That goes for these days. You know, there's some things out there that people really are right now saying it's okay. Getting the vaccine, you know, you got the LGBT agenda. You've got all of these different things that the world is saying is good, right? They're all exalting a lot of these things which are actually an abomination. You see, so God's wisdom is opposite typically of the world's wisdom. God's way is not the world's way. Okay, so my encouragement to you is to practice discretion in every area of your life with your spouse and your kids and your neighbors and your coworkers and your customers and your boss, whatever, your employees, within your health and your fitness and your personal finances. Everything you do at your job or career or assignment or whatever God's got you, doing, and your property at your house and, your farm or whatever you guys have and all the different properties, listen, use wisdom and discretion. It is a must, okay? If you want to grow, the Holy Spirit will continue to grow. If anyone lacks wisdom, let him ask God, right? He will give you wisdom. He will teach you discretion. You can read amazing books. There's a lot of them out there that can help you, but the thing is to search for the wisdom in this area like you would search for treasure. Search and dig below the surface level. Chew on this and get into the understanding of the wisdom and discretion and find out how to practice and take every opportunity you can to practice discretion, okay? All right, love you guys. Thank you guys, and see you guys next time. All right, take care. Love you. See you. Bye.